Most people who feel stuck in their life have already tried to fix it. They changed jobs, ended relationships that weren't working, moved somewhere different. They started over in some form, convinced that the change would shift the feeling. Sometimes it even helped for a while, but then the feeling came back. Not because they did anything wrong, but because they were solving the wrong problem. There are 4 distinct reasons a life stops fitting you, and they all look similar from inside of it. They even feel similar, but they're different problems, and they point in different directions. If you don't know which one is yours, you're essentially guessing at what the solution could be. That's what this video is about today. The first reason is what I like to call the alignment gap. This is the most important one. You built a life around external requirements, what pays well, what's expected of you, what other people need from you. And somewhere in that process, what you actually wanted stopped being part of the equation. This isn't because you're weak or passive. It's because life can get loud, and external requirements get immediate attention. Your own preferences, they're more patient. The alignment gap feels like a low hum of wrongness with no specific source. Your life functions, it just doesn't feel like yours. And that's because it was built around everything except what you actually are. Reason number 2 is identity drift. This one's more subtle. You used to know who you were. You had a sense of what mattered to you, what you were drawn to, and what felt like yours. And then life accumulated. You gained responsibilities, roles, and you got the version of yourself that other people needed for you to be consistently enough that it started to feel like that's just who you are. But you're still in there. The person you were before all of that accumulated hasn't gone anywhere. You just can't hear yourself anymore over the roar of everything else. Identity drift feels different than the alignment gap. It's less like you built the wrong life and more, I can't remember who I was before all of this. There's a bit of grief to it, honestly. A sense of something lost rather than something you never found in the first place. The third reason is what I like to think of as achievement hangover. This one hits people who did everything right. You set a goal, you work at it for years, and you get there. And it just doesn't feel like you expected it. Not because you failed at it, but because the target was always going to be wrong. You just couldn't have known until you got there. You can't feel the wrongness of a goal from outside of it. Sometimes you have to get there first. The achievement hangover is a particular kind of disorientation around it. You did the thing and you're supposed to feel something, but the absence of that feeling is really confusing. And then you get the guilt. You got what you worked for, and it didn't fix anything, and you can't tell anybody about it without sounding like you're ungrateful for something that people really do want. Reason number 4 is suppression. This is the one most people avoid looking at directly. There's something you want or need that you've never fully let yourself acknowledge. A career that would mean starting over. A place you actually want to live. Or a version of yourself that looks nothing like this life that you're currently in. You know what it is. You've just gotten really good at not looking directly at it. Because if you look directly at it, that means you have to deal with what comes next. The conversations you might have to have. Something you'd have to give up. The version of yourself you'd have to stop performing. So if you don't look, then the feeling stays there. Suppression is the hardest one to work with because the first step is just admitting to yourself that you already know. Now, These reasons aren't mutually exclusive. You can have more than one. Most of us do. But there's usually one primary one driving the feeling. And that's the one that's underneath everything else, the bedrock. Getting that wrong, treating an achievement hangover like an alignment gap, or treating suppression like an identity drift, means you end up working on the wrong thing for years. And then you wonder why nothing changes for you. So, here's what you need to do to start figuring out which one is yours. If your life feels functional but a little hollow, it's an achievement gap. If you feel like you've lost something somewhere along the way, it's identity drift. If you got what you worked so hard for, but it just doesn't feel the way that you expected, you have an achievement hangover. And if there's something you want that you've been avoiding looking at directly, you're suppressing it. Sit with those ideas for a minute. Most people know immediately which one resonates. Some of us have 2 or 3 at once, and that's fine too. Just start with the one that hits you the hardest. Before the next video, I want you to pick one of these. Not forever, just for now. That one that hurt the most when you read it. Write it down. One word is enough. That's where you can start. Once you know what room you're in, everything builds from there. The next video is for people who've done everything right. You worked hard, you built something real, you got there, and you can't enjoy it. Not because you're ungrateful, but because there's a specific reason that it happens, and it's not what most people think. That's next. My name is Poe. This is Recalibrate. Thank you so much for joining me.